to the newsroom breaking this hour. Let's start with the top focus. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has recently announced that he would be holding an election in the country soon. He's also called on his European partners to help ensure that the polls can be held safely during the war. Responding to the announcement, residents in the capital city of Kyiv have been doubtful, some also questioning the need to hold a presidential election now and whether the process could be properly organized in the frontline territories. Let's listen in.
Вибори не проводяться. Те, що Трамп хоче, це його справа. Він президент абсолютно іншої країни, який абсолютно не відноситься до України. Я за вибори в кінці воєнного часу після нашої перемоги, як і повинно бути.
Моя особиста думка не на часі. Бо люди мають в окопах якось виходити, чи їм будуть завозити в окопи ці скриньки. Зараз, мені здається, треба війну закінчити, а потім вже проводити вибори. Вони вже нам надавали скільки разів гарантію безпеки. Хто в це вже вірить? Демократія – це ж міф, як і комунізм в радянські часи. Я не вірю в це. Ми вже це проходимо.
And joining me now is my colleague Marisha Barve. Marisha, how likely is it that polls can be held and how suitable are the conditions there to hold polls in the middle of a war?
Well, yes, Kriti. Interesting comments coming in from Ukraine's front point with regards to the elections in Ukraine. Now, Zelensky very confidently has said that he is ready for elections to happen in Ukraine, but only if US and the European nations can guarantee security within the nation. Now, the 2 years of war with Russia that was waged has destabilized the nation quite a bit, and Ukraine was put under martial law due to this very war that was waged. Now, there were claims made by Trump, which President Zelensky has refuted in the first place, which was that Trump said that Zelensky is avoiding the election process within Ukraine, which just in order to cling onto power, which Zelensky has very rightly, or on his part, has claimed as unreasonable. Now, when you consider all of this, having an election in a nation that has been in turmoil comes with its own risks. It is dangerous. Now, like we heard even before, that many people and many members of the politicians have rejected the concept of elections for the nation, majorly because it could destabilize and cause a lot more turmoil within the nation politically. Now, he says Ukraine on its front and Zelensky on his front says that elections should happen only if all Ukrainians can vote. Now, in order for all Ukrainians to vote, this does include soldiers and many million people who are living abroad or who have been displaced from Ukraine. Now, this can be faced by major practical issues that can come into place, like making wartime elections really difficult. Like, for example, frontline troops. How are they to vote? Displaced citizens. Again, raising the question of how is the voting process going to look like? And also, we cannot deny security risks that come along with it. Now, some Ukrainian opposition figures argue that the elections are impossible or rather dangerous to be held during this time because this would give Russia even more opportunities to destabilize the nation. Now, civil societies within Ukraine have also not supported this. In fact, a poll that came out with regards to the public support of wartime elections shows very low support to the election process to be held. Polls show only about 10% were in favor of holding the elections in Ukraine. Now, Zelensky remains Ukraine's most popular politician. He has been in power and has gained public support in his term. And many Ukrainians believe that elections should wait until the martial law is lifted, and once the nation is stable, that's when it would be the right time to hold elections. So this is the take that Ukraine has on the elections. So that is, that's it for you and our viewers, Kriti.
All right, Marisha, thank you for joining us and sharing that update with us. And with that, viewers, we're now going to move on to news from the United Kingdom, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer has identified the British soldier who died in Ukraine as a 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. Starmer said that Hooley was killed in what he described as a tragic accident away from the front lines. The UK government has not disclosed the number of British personnel operating in Ukraine. The officials have previously acknowledged that a small contingent is present to support Ukrainian forces and provide security for diplomatic staff. Let's listen in to what Starmer has said.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House will join me in sending our deepest sympathy and condolences to the family and loved ones of Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment, who died yesterday in Ukraine. Lance Corporal Hooley was injured in a tragic accident away from the front lines while observing Ukrainian forces testing a new defensive capability. His life was full of courage and determination. He served our country with honour and distinction around the world in the cause of freedom and democracy, including as part of the small number of British personnel in Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, I place his name on record today to express our gratitude and respect and to affirm that his service will never be forgotten.
And moving on, speaking in the Russian upper house of parliament, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that the European countries are taking, quote, an openly dangerous position in the ongoing Ukraine peace settlement plan. He's accused them of impeding the peace plan and actively trying to gain control of Russia's foreign currency reserves, as Lavrov claims that they don't have enough money to continue their military operations in Ukraine. Take a look.
Откровенно деструктивную позицию по украинскому вопросу занимают Лондон, руководство Еврокомиссии в Брюсселе, большинство стран-членов НАТО и Евросоюза. Инвестировав весь свой какой-никакой политический капитал в войну с Россией руками и телами украинских граждан, они по-прежнему в безнадежной политической слепоте тешат себя иллюзией так или иначе победить нашу страну.
Additionally, the Russian foreign minister has praised US President Donald Trump as, quote, the only Western leader to fully grasp the root causes of the Ukraine war and the one who has been progressively pushing dialogue to resolve the conflict through political and diplomatic means. Moreover, Lavrov has reiterated that Russia has no thoughts of continuing war in Ukraine, but in case the European Union nations deploy military on Ukrainian soil, Russia will respond, despite the two nations experiencing a rather evolving relationship in recent months. He's also noted that the US passed a national security strategy last week and that Germany is preparing to manage all the changes that may occur in transatlantic relations because of it. Let's listen.
Diese Sicherheitsstrategie, die die Amerikaner in der letzten Woche veröffentlicht haben, ist ja keine wirklich große Überraschung, nachdem der amerikanische Vizepräsident auf der Münchner Sicherheitskonferenz die Rede gehalten hat, die Sie vermutlich alle gehört und in Erinnerung haben. Und insofern stellen wir uns darauf ein, dass sich das transatlantische Verhältnis ändert. Aber ich möchte es nach wie vor als Partner sehen und ich hoffe, dass Amerika das aus seiner Sicht gegenüber Europa und dann auch gegenüber Deutschland genauso sieht.
And some news from France now. The escape of the burglars who stole jewels from the Louvre in October could have been prevented within 30 seconds, according to an official French involved in the administrative investigation into the security at the Paris Museum, the world's most visited one in the world. Now, Noel Corbyn, who is the head of the General Inspectorate of Cultural Affairs, has been questioned by the Senate on the findings of the administrative inquiry into a security at the Louvre, also praised the intervention of the officers who prevented the worst, namely the destruction of evidence by fire by the thieves.
vérifier, Monsieur le Président, à 30 secondes près, les agents de Securitas ou les policiers à bord de la voiture auraient pu empêcher la fuite des voleurs. Pour ces 30 précieuses secondes, il aurait suffi, et c'est toujours un peu facile de le dire après, mais on reprend l'ensemble du déroulé, le signalement un peu plus rapide par les agents du PC s'ils avaient pu voir la caméra plus tôt, un temps de résistance à l'effraction de la fenêtre supérieur à celui qui a été constaté, une information aussi, et ça c'est important, plus précise, donnée aux agents de Securitas et à la police sur la localisation de l'effraction.
À l'instant, une obsolescence des outils périmétriques de détection, une seule caméra fixe à image analogique située sur le quai François Mitterrand dans ce secteur, et un nombre insuffisant de moniteurs permettant de voir les images en temps réel dans le PC central de sécurité. La caméra extérieure a bien filmé l'arrivée des voleurs, l'installation de la nacelle, la montée des 2 voleurs jusqu'au balcon et quelques minutes plus tard, leur retour et leur départ précipité.
Sûreté. La présidente du Louvre avait précisé ici même que le cambriolage était un échec, mais à la lecture du rapport, il apparaît clairement que ce n'est pas un échec fortuit, qui n'est pas dû à l'accumulation d'un manque de chance, mais bien à des décisions qui n'ont pas été prises pour assurer la sécurité. Cette défaillance.
Moving on, viewers, China has strongly rejected Japan's protest. The Chinese fighter jets logged radar onto Japanese aircraft during a training exercise. At a routine foreign ministry briefing, a spokesperson called the allegations maliciously hyped and accused Tokyo of attempting to mislead the international community. The spokesperson has said that Chinese aircraft were conducting normal exercises and that Japan's jets engaged in provocative maneuvers, creating the real security risk. China urged Japan to cease what it described as politically motivated disinformation and to avoid actions that could escalate tension. Listen in.
日方此前声称没有接到中方通报，现在又承认事先收到了中方的信息，前后矛盾，顾左右而言他。日方还拒不解释，在事先收到通报的情况下，为何执意派战斗机擅自闯入中方演训区域，抵近侦察滋扰，制造紧张事态，持续恶意炒作。日方是不是在故意转移焦点，企图误导国际社会？日方现在应该做的是正视当前中日关系困难的症结，认认真真反思纠错，老老实实撤回高市首相涉台错误言论。
China has reiterated that both sides of the Taiwan Strait are its sovereign territory, asserting full sovereignty rights and jurisdiction over the waters. The statement was made by Chen Binhua, who is the spokesman for the Taiwan Affairs Office of the State Council, during a press briefing in Beijing. Chen's remarks came in response to an emergency search and rescue drill conducted by China's maritime safety authorities at the Taiwan shoal. Following the exercise, a fleet of vessels patrolled the Central Strait and carried out law enforcement operations. He's emphasized that China maritime authorities regularly supervise navigation, docking, and other maritime activities to ensure safe and orderly transportation. Chen has further criticized Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party for pursuing what he called a secessionist agenda, accusing it of spreading false narratives that undermine peace and stability in this strait. Listening to the comments made by Chen Binhua.
小两岸都是中国的领土，中国对台湾海峡享有主权权利和管辖权。交通运输部海事管理机构依法常态化对台湾海峡内从事航行、停泊、作业以及其他与海上交通安全相关的活动实施安全监督管理，旨在维护该海域通航环境和通航秩序。 保障海上交通运输安全有序畅通。民进党当局罔顾台湾是中国一部分的事实与法理，不断散布台独分裂谬论。
And moving on, the Thailand officials have said that the clashes on Thailand's border with Cambodia has led 1,000 people to take shelter at a volleyball stadium, which has turned into an evacuation center of the Sisaket city. Some evacuated people have responded. Let's listen into what they have said.
สิคะคิดถึงมากเลยอยากกลับมากเลยเพราะว่าแฟนอยู่บ้านเฝ้าสัตว์เลี้ยงอะไรอย่างเงี้ยทิ้งมาไม่ได้อะค่ะแล้วก็มีน้องอยู่นู่นกับครอบครัวน้องอยู่เขาไม่ยอมมาค่ะเขาไม่ยอมเข้ามากันแล้วก็ห่วงแล้วก็อีกอย่างก็คือสุขภาพลูกก็ไม่ค่อยดีก็เป็นหอบหืดตัวเองก็ไม่ค่อยสุขภาพก็ไม่ค่อยดีเหมือนกันค่ะก็มาอย่างคุณยายก็เป็นความดันแม่ก็เป็นความดันแต่เราก็มาอยู่อย่างนี้ก็มันก็ไม่ค่อยนั้นเท่าไหร่เราคิดถึงบ้านด้วยอย่างเงี้ยค่ะโอ้เนาะมันคนชายแดนนะคะมันถ้าเป็นอย่างนี้ก็จะมาหากินลำบากอ่ะเราต้องเที่ยวอพยพเงินทองเราก็ไม่ค่อยมีอะไรเงี้ยมาอยู่อย่างนี้ใช่มีข้าวฟรีแต่ว่างานเราไม่ได้ทำเราก็ไม่มีรายได้เราขาดรายได้เรามีลูกมีอะไรเงี้ยเราก็ต้องมีค่าใช้จ่าย
ก็คิดถึงครับอยากให้จบไวๆครับเพราะว่าเราต้องมีสิ่งของทางบ้านต้องดูแลหลายๆอย่างครับเพราะว่าต่างคนต่างมาก็คิดถึงทางบ้านเหมือนกันครับเพราะว่ามันเป็นห่วงทั้งไร่นาของเราที่เราปลูกไว้หรือว่าทรัพย์สินเราอยู่ที่บ้านมันไม่มีใครเราก็ไม่รู้ว่าจะอยู่นานสักเท่าไหร่จะปีนี้หรือว่าหลังปีใหม่ปีหน้าก็ไม่แน่ครับขึ้นอยู่กับทางเจ้าหน้าที่ว่าจะยุติปัญหาได้
Meanwhile, the Cambodian Defense Ministry has said that Cambodia has evacuated more than 127,000 villages and hundreds of schools are closed. Now moving on, viewers, Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who won the Nobel Peace Prize this year, has condemned the current Venezuelan government of alleged state terrorism. The statements were a part of her daughter Ana Corina Sosa Machado's acceptance speech as she received the award on her mother's behalf. Ana, in her speech, said that she has noted that 2,500 people have been kidnapped, disappeared and tortured under the rule of President Nicolas Maduro. Let's listen in to what she said.
I am here on behalf of my mother, Maria Corina Machado, who has united millions of Venezuelans in an extraordinary effort that you, our hosts, have honored with the Nobel Peace Prize. But although she has not been able to be here and take part in this ceremony, I must say that my mother never breaks a promise. And that is why, with all the joy in my heart, I can tell you that in just a few hours, we will be able to embrace her here in Oslo after 16 months living in heaven.
Moving on, Druze leader Sheikh Mowafaq Tarif has called on the United States to guarantee the security and rights of Syria's Druze community amid fears of renewed violence in the Sweida province. Speaking at the UN in Geneva on Tuesday, Tarif urged Washington to protect minority groups, prevent further massacres and reduce the need for Israeli intervention in southern Lebanon. Take a look.
طبعا دور امريكا هو الدور المهم واللي يعول عليه واحنا نتامل كامريكا وكالرئيس الامريكي ترامب امريكا كدوله عظمى انه هي تضمن حق الاقليات كلها في سوريا تضمن حق الاقليات وعدم التعدي عليها وعدم انه يكون هناك بعد مجازر او مذابح للاقليات هذا لازم على الواجب على الولايات المتحدة أن تعمله من أجل ضمان حقوق كل الأقليات في سوريا وخاصة أبناء الطائفة الدرزية أيضا من جملتهم لأنه لن يكون هناك استقرار في سوريا إذا لم يكن هناك إعطاء أبناء الطائفة الدرزية حقها. يعني يوجد انعدام الثقة مش موجودة اليوم يوجد انعدام ثقة إن ما جرى كبير جدا جدا لا يوجد ثقة اليوم لا يوجد ثقة يجب إعادة الثقة كما ذكرت يجب الخروج من محافظة السويدة ويعطوا الأهالي يرجعوا لبيوتهم ولقراهم وإرجاع المخطوفين وإدخال كل المساعدات اللازمة إلى السويدة. لا يعقل الاستمرار بهذا الشيء. على العالم ينظر ويرى ولا يتحرك ولا يعمل أي شيء. لا يعقل هذا الاستمرار بهذا الوضع الموجود. لا يعقل.
And viewers, let's tell you that Sweida, which is a Druze or Majoran resident Syrian forces, were accused of execution-style killings of Druze civilians, derailing ongoing talks to integrate the province's police under Damascus while preserving local autonomy. Now, Tarif emphasized that trust must be rebuilt between the Druze and the government of President Ahmed al-Shara, who has vowed to protect the minority community. The leader rejected proposals to disarm the Druze and stressed the need for self-determination and minority rights, drawing comparisons to Switzerland's confederate system. And hundreds of activists from Benin's ruling party, the Bloc Republican, have gathered at the party's headquarters in the city of Cotonou to condemn the coup attempt that happened in the early hours of last Sunday morning by a small mutiny of soldiers. Expressing their support for the Benin President Patrice Talon and thanking the National Defense Forces for their rapid and strategic efforts in foiling the coup, the activists also listed out the dangers of such incidents. Let's listen in.
À la limite, c'est l'assassin. On reproche quoi? À qui? Qu'est-ce qu'ils pourront faire? Les exemples sont légion. On a les pays de l'AES aujourd'hui. Ils fabriquent quoi? Depuis qu'ils ont pris le pouvoir, par la force, ils fabriquent quoi? Bien au contraire. Est-ce que ceux qui ont essayé ce truc-là ici, parce que je n'aime pas appeler son nom, est-ce que ceux qui ont essayé ça, est-ce qu'ils ont réfléchi à tout ça? Non, non, le Bénin ne mérite pas ça. Le Bénin n'a jamais mérité un coup d'État. Pourquoi faire? Pourquoi faire?
Ceux qui ont tenté de pareils actes savaient l'importance qui est dedans, qui n'allait pas l'oser. Parce qu'un coup d'État dans un pays, ça arrière le pays. Et ça bloque beaucoup de choses dans le pays. Que ce soit l'institution, que ce soit les écoles, nos enfants vont en souffrir. C'est vraiment blessant, mais on a encore la condition, on a le courage parce que nous avons une armée qui s'est donnée et grâce à notre armée et grâce à la volonté du peuple, ça a été un échec et nous disons bravo. Félicitations à notre chef d'État, le président Patrice Talon.
And with that, it's a wrap on the newsroom. Keep watching for more breaking news updates.